Hello, everyone watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify. It is another episode of NRG Insights. For those that don't know, we speak to influential people in the market, the financial services market, whether that be broking, lending, or any ancillary products. If I can just get that word out as we give. On that ancillary products type notion today, I've got Jaz with me from Taylor Rose. Thanks for joining me, Jaz.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, pleasure. It's been a while, and now we've been trying to get you on for a while, but we're going to obviously for those who don't know, I know you've written children's books in regards to financial services recently and that kind of thing. We'll touch on that later, but just initially for people that don't know, talk to me about your journey to where you are now within conveyancing for financial services.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a conveyancing solicitor at Taylor Rose. I've been doing conveyancing for about a decade approaching now. Always done residential. And I invest, family around me invest. So I think going into conveyancing just felt like home, to be honest. Like I knew what it was to feel like on the other side.
Yeah.
So I naturally progressed in that career. I was initially an employee, so it was like a 9 to 5 structure. And,
Hmm.
you get all these rumors about you can't get hold of solicitors and, emails, telephone calls. And
We are
I
going
was
to
just
touch on that
like,
why everything is. We will touch on the fact that everything is your fault. Across all aspects of the
absolutely
business
right.
lines
We're
as well.
actually like the deal breakers for transactions. And I
Yeah,
think
because
a
nobody
lot of
wants to
it
do
kind of,
business.
I think a lot of it depends like what kind of solicitor you approach and what kind of firm it is. And then after that, I was like, right, okay, I think I can do this by myself. And I became a consultant and it became more of like a flexi hours. I realized what the clients were looking for. They didn't want a 9 to 5 solicitor. Most of my clients are working, I'm
No.
doing out of hours Zoom, and it's just more of like a personal touch and not being a number. So I went into
Yeah.
consultancy. I have an X amount of files that I handle per month. And then that allows like a more personal bespoke service to the client. And I've been doing that for a very long time and never looked back, to be honest.
Amazing. Do you think that is the difference maker? Because you do obviously you hear the horror stories, right? You never get hold of your solicitor. I do still think it's the only industry that when someone goes on holiday, no one looks after their work, according to everyone. But do you think that's made a big difference for you when you've sort of kind of moved with the times in the sense of like you say, like nobody really works 9 to 5 anymore. So a 9 to 5 solicitor doesn't really work for people, right?
No, no, it doesn't, to be honest. I mean, like you said, it's even case handlers as well. I mean, me being on the other side, I just want one solicitor who's got my ID, doing it all the way till post completion. I don't want to be working around like 5, 6 people, or I don't want someone to pick up the phone and be like, oh, okay, let me check where we are on the transaction. So I guess just kind of having that personal bespoke service. Like at the end of the day, you're paying a lot of money for a solicitor. You might as well have get a good solicitor. I mean, obviously there's so many solicitors out there as well that have very low fees, hidden charges. And I think it's just the client
How do
being
you
more
combat
aware
that?
and
Because
conscious.
yeah, sorry to jump in. How do you combat that? Because we get that right. We're a premium service, so
Mm.
we charge what we're worth 100%. I think people get great value for money, but we also know there are lots of people cheaper than us. How do you kind of educate people on that? Because it just seems strange that we don't really do it with our accountants. We shouldn't really do it with our lawyers, though. Especially as a people person, I don't think you should do it when you're looking after people. But how do you combat that fact that there is always someone cheaper than you?
I think it's an experience thing, right? I let clients go. And chances are, honestly, within 3 weeks, they're back at me. The amount of clients I've had reallocated files just because they were like,
Yeah.
Jazz, the file still hasn't opened, or we still haven't applied for searches and it's been 3 months. 3 months. Oh my God, I would have completed the transaction. Um, so I guess it's just clients
Yeah,
live and
yeah,
learn kind of thing, isn't it?
yeah. And again, it's that education piece, isn't it? We have the same thing. We have. I mean, I remember this is my personal bugbear is when you've done a really good job for someone, they still go with someone cheaper, and then they come back again. Obviously, you're always
Yeah.
going to work with those people again, but we don't all drive the cheapest car and shop in the cheapest restaurant and eat in the cheapest restaurant, etc. But we always, everyone, I suppose everyone's looking for a deal as well, right? So
It's
you got to
just
kind
to
of
say,
appreciate
isn't
the
it?
other
Like
journey
you've
as
just
well.
Yeah, you've just got to do your homework, to be honest. I mean, the more you research that kind of solicitor and
Mm.
how they work and what their approach is, are they contactable and what is their contacting methods? Like, I still have solicitors who still post me documents. who still fax me documents. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, why am I not getting it by email? What is wrong with email or a
Yeah, yeah.
telephone call? So you
Well,
will
it's the
be
same as like wet
surprised.
in this day and age when you're still looking at like wet signatures and stuff. It just seems nuts, right? You just we live in a world of biometrics on our phones, yet everything has to be done. Like you say, you're still getting faxes. It's nuts.
I know, madness, right? I mean, that's just the thing, isn't it? If you're going to approach a solicitor, make sure they're moved with the times as well. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, I guess like it's just a live and learn kind of situation, really.
Yeah. So talk to me. So you as a consultant, obviously, I'm assuming you go out and win business and the like. What's your kind of approach to that? Because we've all got to generate business as well, right? As well as do our day job. What's your take on that? And if you got like a preferred method, or is it a lot word of mouth?
I think if you do your work best, I mean, it is pretty much word of mouth, to be honest.
Mm.
And then just returning those clients and just making sure you're delivering. I mean, how did I start off? I'm trying to think. I mean, it seems so long ago, but I think I initially started off with networking. And, they talk about network is your net worth and all of that. But it's really actually not just attending, but actually being present and people remembering who you are as well and what value you're adding. So I think I did a lot of that. I did a lot of panel discussions, like podcasts like this always worked. And social media. I mean, I never believed in social media up until probably the last 2 years or so. And it really like took by storm. And I was like, wow, like you just don't realize how much work is available when you put yourself out
Yeah.
there, really. So I just think, yeah, I think making
What's the
contacts
best
with,
chance of people? Sorry, we're overlapping a little bit, aren't we? I think there's a slight delay. I was just saying, what's your kind of take on the social media side of things? Like, what would you say to people who are nervous about doing it? Because I was the same, right? I just didn't believe you could win business from it, and then all of our business is inbound through social media, which is amazing. Obviously, it's because we're doing a good
yeah.
job, but at the same time, like it's hard to take that first step, isn't it? Because you're putting yourself out there, especially for you guys. I'm assuming like quite an antiquated industry. Like it's a big step, right?
Yeah, for sure. I had Rosalia. I don't know whether you've heard of her, Rosalia from Manuka
Yeah, yeah.
Media.
Like Rush, you know the podcast a couple of times.
Yeah,
Yes,
so I
she's great.
actually had her, to be honest, and she was like, let's just throw yourself out there and just be who you are. There's no reason to wear like a suit or a shirt or anything like that. And I
Mm,
totally get that. The way I work, I am in t-shirt and jeans. So I think the more I put myself out there, the more everyone's like, oh my God, you're
yeah.
so approachable, or you don't look like a solicitor. And I think that's just so like warming to be on the other side and just be like, I can actually pick up the call and speak to her. Otherwise, I have some clients that say to me, good God, I can't even speak to my solicitor because I'm so intimidated. So I think if you kind of put that approach
Mm.
out there and just be like you are on an everyday basis, people just warm to you, I suppose.
Yeah, I do. I think it's that breaking down that trust barrier, right? I think social media is fantastic for. It also works the other way. Like if someone thinks I'm a knobhead, great. Like we're not going to work together anyway. So why waste
Absolutely.
that month of what speaking to each other when you don't get on? So I think if you're authentically your own personal brand online, it's great because people that want to work with you genuinely want to work with you because they like you. Obviously,
Yeah.
we've all got to be able to do our jobs as well, right? But it's about working with people that you can see yourself working with.
100%. I mean, that makes all the difference, to be honest. And just like being consistent, really, and adding value. And I think the more, I mean,
Yeah.
you may not get like 100 likes, but the thing is, people are watching you. I sometimes walk into rooms and they're like, oh my God, Jazz, I saw you on socials. And I don't know who they are because they've never liked my post. They sure are
Yeah, yeah.
following. And I think that's just it. It's not sometimes how many likes you get or how many people are commenting. It's just the fact that people are noticing you. And you notice that when you walk into rooms.
Mm. Yeah. So you know what's really funny is you do like the personal brand stuff. Like I will joke about I had a joke the other week about my son's being stupid because he's got his head stuck in his shirt or something. Went ridiculously like hundreds of thousands of views. You're not getting any business from that, but it does open you up to when you actually add value to something financial services specific. But ironically, you get like two when you actually add value. You probably get like 2 or 3 likes, but they are the ones that draw in business. They're the ones that resonate with your potential clients. But you have to do the other side as well, right? Because otherwise, no one sees when you are being serious. It's just a
Right.
tightrope.
A fine boundary, isn't it, in terms of how much you kind of be authentic and then yet keep it professional at the same time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So talk to me, excuse me, talk to me about the challenges in the market at the moment, because obviously we, we're in a better market, right? But it's still tough. I think people are still finding it relatively, relatively tricky. Obviously, you guys get blamed for everything, so it'd be good to hear from your side how you feel the market is going.
I think at the moment I'm seeing very few first-time buyers, and first-time buyers, I mean people who are buying in their personal name. But I'm seeing a high number of people buying in their limited company. But those directors that are buying in limited company have never ever bought a property in a limited company. And I think that's where the frustration is, because I think people don't understand how many documents
Do you
and
think
how
they
the
assume it's
process
going to be the same as
is.
the report normally?
That's just it, isn't it? I mean, I think they just think it's going to be straightforward. The pricing is definitely going to be the same. The workload is going to be the same. And, to some extent it is. But I think clients also need to appreciate we need to report back to Companies House. You need personal guarantees.
Mm.
You need independent legal advice from directors. And there's like all these like conditions that mortgage lenders then set out for solicitors to do. And I think the more clients are aware of, it's not going to be it should be a straightforward process if you've done your homework on it. Um, but often more than not, it's not, because clients just think they can sign the contract, they can sign the transfer deed, mortgage deed. I've literally had all the papers back and they've witnessed, like they've got like their family member to just witness the document. And it's like black and white. It says witness over 18. It needs to be independent. You need
Independence.
to get independent advice. And I've had one client say to me, yeah, I got independent advice from a family friend. And I'm like, no, 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 no. It needs to be
No,
from a
no, it's
solicitor.
not really
And
independent.
exactly that, right? So I think it's just about educating more on the limited company, really, on the
I
aspect
was
on
going to
that.
say that. Do you do that? Do you work on that side of things? Do you do like the education piece where you try and explain about the limited company stuff? Because you're right. Like we all know that you could it tax efficient, the limited company buy to lets, etc. Um, I wouldn't know that. I would know beforehand that it was harder. So I think it's maybe an
Mm,
education piece on the industry.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I personally don't, to be honest, because I guess it's just a matter of me picking up the cord with a client and just going through the documents and being like, this is what needs to be done. But yeah, I think maybe more of that needs to be put out there in terms of what that means to be buying under a limited company. You're definitely going to be paying more stamp duty, for instance. It's not going to be the same time
Mm.
as like an individual. Like there's so many various factors that are involved. Mortgage conditions are definitely going to be so much more different from a standard transaction, to be honest. Um,
Yeah,
it just depends what the kind of what the lender's criteria is on that as well.
nice. So, how do you see the market? I mean, how do you see the market? Like, is it still better? Is it? Have you got like a backlog of likes? Is there anything that because like I say, everyone's always like it's illegals, but do you have issues your end that you see more common than not that maybe, especially because lots of brokers watch this? Is there anything that we should be doing better on the other side, or is there anything in particular you think maybe more education is needed on?
I think from the broker's perspective, I always say, like, even to my referrer brokers, to be like, let's keep the communication dialogue open. So, if there's any change in like rates, let me know. If there's going to be like gifted monies, let me know. Sometimes I go through transactions with clients and the client's like, well, I've already told the broker. I appreciate that, but then I also need to be reporting back to the lender as well. So I guess in terms of that, I
Yeah,
mean, you kind of like, I mean, sometimes I just CC brokers into all my emails. And I have some brokers that say to me,
I
Jazz,
was
please
going to
don't
say
do
this.
that.
Is there
Or
anything
Jazz,
wrong
I
with
love
like?
that.
Yeah, I just think that. But like CCing in brokers, I think there's nothing wrong with like a WhatsApp group with your broker, your lawyer,
Yes.
even the lender. You know what I mean? Just so your like communication, right? That's the only reason these things cock up. It's because we don't
Yeah.
communicate, and everyone thinks is the broker's really good at blaming you, and then you'll say you haven't got the information, and then it's generally the client
Mm.
that's done something. So if everyone is on the same page, we were much more open. But and also from the other side, I know I've heard of solicitors not being as keen on CCing in brokers because they're all getting involved. So I suppose it works both ways, doesn't it, for the open communication side of things?
Yeah, to be honest, I do it a lot, to be honest. Sometimes I can't even get hold of lenders or they're not responding to emails like within 48 hours. I get the broker on board and be like, you know what, let's touch base with the underwriter directly. You obviously
Yeah.
have direct contact, and it's going to be a far better response. And the thing is, the client's doing so much overlapping with documents as well. They've done like so much with the estate agent, probably even with the broker. So the chances are by the time they've come to me, they expect me to have everything. And I think that that's just the thing, is just to keep that dialogue moving really, with the brokers, and just making them aware, like, even if there's changes on like my side, and I think searches were expected in 2 weeks, and it's going to be, I don't know, another 4 weeks, for example, at least that allows the broker to continue looking at the market in terms of rate changes. Or before I'm going to exchange
Yeah.
contracts, sometimes I'll notify a broker and be like, look, I'm just about to exchange contracts. Is there a rate change, for example? So I just think like just small factors like that, and just make sure that, obviously that broker wants to be communicated like that too, I suppose.
Yeah. I suppose it works on both ways. Then some of the good brokers want to keep the communication open, but you're always going to have people that just push it off on you and go, "Come on, just tell me when it completes." But I suppose it works in both ways, doesn't it? Good lawyers, good brokers, good clients. We all have to be speaking. So that's really useful. I appreciate that. What we wanted to talk about, and I know you spoke about this at the bottom. We were talking about it offline, but you have, on the financial education piece, tell people what you have done recently that kind of to push that side of things.
Yeah, sure. So I have 2 children, aged 5 and 7, and at different points of their life during the curriculum, they would talk about property, and they would come home and be like, "Oh, mummy, today we drew the road and what kind of house we live in." And I was like, "All right, okay." And they were like, "It's rather interesting, mummy, because I thought we all lived in a house, and we don't all live in a house." And I was like, "Oh, no, we don't. We certainly don't." And
Yeah.
then so I went onto Amazon, and I was like, right, okay, let's get a reading book and let's do some kind of activities around this. And I couldn't find a single book on Amazon that I could educate my children on as young as that, to be honest, in terms of what's a bungalow, what's a flat, what's a cottage. So literally we would go down the road, and I'd stand out the features, and I'd be like, "Oh, can you see there's a balcony there? Or that's a driveway, or that's a garage." And I would write these notes, and those notes eventually became into a book. And I launched a book called My Home, Your Home. And it's ideally for children in year 1, year 2, year 3. And it's more,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I don't want them to be investors at that young. And I think I have so many people that come to me and be like, "Jaz, why are we educating children that young and let them learn about the 3 Little Pigs and those kind of materials?"
Oh,
The
it's a
thing is,
great
we
thing
don't
to
live in
learn.
that day.
Every single person that comes on the podcast when we say what can we do better is about educating children. And then if you do it when we go a little
100%.
bit young, we all know algebra when we leave and we don't know how to do our taxes. It's exactly the same thing. Like there is an education
100%.
problem. And obviously,
Absolutely, to be
trying to
honest.
fix that at an early age.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just educating them on the right things at the right age as well, right? I mean, of course, I don't expect them to learn about mortgage interest rates. No one does. But then, just like the small things, understand where you're living, and understand people do live in like various properties. So the book generally goes around about a mother and a child going around the neighborhood, and they'll go to a house, or they'll go to a cottage, and they'll go to a flat, even a caravan's in there. I just wanted the children to understand there are so many different types of properties in the UK that you could live
Yeah.
under. So it's just more about understanding really, and the curriculum kind of like welcoming that.
Nice. And how's that? How has it been for you? I mean, how was actually writing a book?
Pardon?
How was the writing the book? How was it like? What was the process like? Have you never done one before?
Oh, it was actually fun, to be honest. So the thing is, I try to make it more fun, and like there'll be like prompts and be like, "Can you spot this? Can you spot that?" And the dialogue is very like child friendly, to be honest. So when I would talk to my child, I would be like, "Oh, there's a loft in this house." And in that loft, I would create like a office space. What would you do? And he'd be like, "Oh my God, I'd want it into a dinosaur room, mum." And so I incorporated that into the book. And like I've
Yeah.
had some children and be like, "Oh my God, I can relate." And that's what it's about, to be honest. You want the child to relate. I don't want them to think, "Oh God, here's another educational book on, I don't know, algebra." That kind of feeling. I wanted them to come home and be like, "Mum, I love that. I understand it. And I know what a flat looks like. I know what a terraced house looks like," for example.
Yeah.
So
So we'll get
it's
these kids
just,
into real
I
estate
actually have the
finance
book
nice and
here.
early.
Pardon?
Yeah. So like I said, we'll get
Pardon?
into real estate finance early. It's a good start.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just it, to be honest. I mean, this was just me starting off, really, to be honest. And then I felt like after doing this, I want to open up like a curriculum pack for schools. and like put it out there and be like, look, is there something you'd be interested in? And then slowly ramp it up a bit. So once they're in year 3, year 4, maybe we can start talking about like freeholds, leaseholds, and what that kind of
Yeah.
means. Because recently I've actually had a client a couple of months ago to say to me, Jazz, can you explain to me what is a freehold? What is a leasehold? And they're already buying a property and they just don't know, because unless they're actually out there going on YouTube, listening to podcasts, there's nothing in the school curriculum to teach you that.
It's funny because we're in the game, right? So you just assume everyone knows what you know. And it's
Yeah.
the same across all financial services, even like how money is lent. I think
Mm.
it's super interesting how funding works and funders are funders, etc. But I'm interested in it because that's my game, right? I need to know. But then you speak to and it's the same. Like it was never taught. So people don't understand the process. And once you understand the process, you understand why things happen. So as much it's getting them early.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's just, how they say it takes a whole village to raise a child.
Mm.
And that's exactly how it is with property as well. You need everyone on board. I mean, I will do as much as I will, and I know a lot of the industry supports this, but it's the
Yeah.
teachers and, the educational body. Like,
How's that
we
going,
need
Jazz?
support.
How's it like getting into school? Have you spoke to schools? Have they been like responsive, or is it a slow burn?
It's a very slow burner. They're very much like, you can come in and we can talk about the book and you can do an author day, and that's great. But I want it to be more than that, to be honest.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no point in me going there. And at the end of the day, I get it. It's a sales technique and tactic, and they can buy the book. But for me, it was just a bit more deeper than that. So I've actually suggested to a few schools, how about I write the curriculum pack? How would you feel about that? And so I
Yeah.
think a lot of the schools will be like, well, write it and then we will talk about it.
And
And
then
I'm
we'll
like,
see.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
They've
I
got
mean,
the strict budgets as well, aren't they? We've all got to learn
yeah,
about Pythagoras rule before we learn about how where we live.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'll do as much as I can. I am working on a curriculum pack, so, and I will put it out there to them, and then we'll see. Fingers
Is this
crossed.
literally just like a labour of love? Because clearly you've got a very labour intensive job personally. Like, is it take up a lot of your time? Is it a big chunk, or is it just you just feel so
Yeah, I
passionate
think
about
it's like
it?
self-satisfaction, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whether I see it as like hard working or anything like that. It's just something I want out there, to be honest. I want my clients to be delivered. I want children to understand. And I think that's a problem lies because I've been on the other side as well, and I know what that feels like. So it's just
Yeah.
resonating, to be honest.
Nice. Amazing. Thank you. I said it would be about 20 minutes, and I've kept you longer. But if we'll revert back to the final question, to all the kind of the brokers that are listening and that kind of thing, back to obviously they can send them the book and they can learn about what's the difference between a house and a flat. But excuse me. In regards to broking or the brokers at the moment, is there any advice? If there's one bit of advice you could give to people to make transactions smoother, what would you say is the best bit of advice you could give to the brokers out there?
I would say honestly, like treat us like your best friends. I say that to clients, I say that to the estate agent and the broker. We are not enemies. The thing is, we all want the same outcome. We want the transaction
Yeah.
done. So, I mean, you go on LinkedIn and there's so much bashing about, the solicitor didn't do this properly or
Oh, they
whatever the
love it, don't
case.
they? Everyone loves to moan at the lawyers. It's the favourite LinkedIn pastime.
Right, right. And, vice versa. You do have some solicitors out there that talk the opposite, to be honest. So it's just like really like, the thing is we're a team. And, whether
Yeah.
you even put a surveyor into it as well, just make sure I think the best way you said it is to put them in a WhatsApp group. I have no issue.
Mm.
Like I'm currently in a few WhatsApp groups and I feel like that works so nicely because even emails get missed by clients, to be honest. And I can't expect them to always attend to them. So sometimes I am chasing by WhatsApp. And I think that that kind of communication dialogue, like the more open you are, the smoother that journey will be.
Amazing. That's really good advice. I genuinely think it as well. Like, obviously, I'm going to say that because I believe it's the same for us. If you treat everyone like a partner of the business, like every
Yeah.
single part of the transaction, of growing a business, helping your business, helping your clients, it's so much smoother. It's just that people have this weird ethos, like it's kind of you against them. When actually, like you said, we're all trying to do the same thing, right? We're all trying to get the best outcome for the client. So we can act like it.
Absolutely. 100%.
Amazing. So, Jazz, all of your socials will be on our socials, and obviously I'll try and get if you can send me the details of the book, etc., so I can put stuff around the socials so people can have a good look. What's the best way to get hold of you? If people want to speak to you about either the financial education bit or obviously about your actual day job of being a conveyancing solicitor, what's the best way that people can speak to you?
So I'm on socials. So LinkedIn under Jaz Dhaliwal, and then Instagram as well, UK property_solicitor. I guess everyone's got socials, to be honest. I'm sure you'll distribute the email address or contact number, whatever the case. But if someone wants to just
We
drop
leave
me a
your phone number
message.
off. There's a lot of mental people on Spotify, so we always leave the contact number off. But
All right, okay, well, there we
know.
are. The thing is, if you've got Spotify, you definitely have Instagram or LinkedIn. So I'm always available on those channels.
Good stuff. Amazing. Thank you very much for your time today, Jaz. I really appreciate it. And thank you for everyone watching and listening today. It's been another episode of NRG Insights. But again, really appreciate your time, Jaz. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.